Evening, good evening, good evening. It's your boy, old boy from Staring into the Abyss, slash Tales of the Abyss, and co host of War Screwed. Like always, I have Andy Andrews with me.
What's up, man? How is everybody?
So, if you notice, we are missing James Hershey. Mr. Hershey has coronavirus. He's trying to get over COVID right now. He should be getting better. He said it's starting to get better. We just found out about a day ago, so we're gonna let him get better. And so if you guys were wondering where the fuck did James go, well, he's not here, Misfits. So I'm going to be doing it, and Andy's going to take my place, and we're just gonna have two people today. And we're kind of used to it because Andy half the time, always has something better to do, so we ended up having to do it anyway. So I'm kind of used to it. So what we're going to talk about today is we're not going to talk about politics because James ain't here. Yes. But I know you guys want to get going, and you know where to put that finger up. This being said, so what I'm going to talk about is when I was in high school and right out of high school, I did a lot of crazy ass shit. That being said, the crazy shit I did, I told my wife all the time of what I did in my life and when I was a kid, because she had a kind of a normal kind of. She was in the band camp and she had a pretty decent life and kind of sheltered. I was totally off, totally fucking opposite. It started at 13. My parents, they worked in dialysis and they were gone. So my friend had the wonderful idea. We had a bar, and he was a little older than me, and he had his brother and this girl he liked, and she was a little older than me. I think she's about 15. Well, they all four, and then she had a sister, and then he brought his brother. So there's about five of us. Things go. We start having a couple drinks. I'm mixing drinks at 13. So, that's not always the most responsible thing to fucking do. Well, he didn't tell me he dropped her some kind of sleeping pill. She got to the point where she was passing out in my parents' bed, and they were coming home in 4 hours. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was after school. So I was off because what it was in California, they had tracks A, B, and C. I was one of the schools in the 8 schools in California who did it. So I was off and they weren't, because he went to Christian school and she went to high school at the time. So the story starts as they get her roofied. I don't think he roofied her. He dropped a pill. He did not tell me this. He takes off with his brother and leaves both her and her younger sister, is about my age. Um, I was like, oh fuck. I called my friend. He was pissed. We had to walk her around for an hour and a half around our neighborhood to sober up, unless we didn't go by her parents' house. He left us there like a dick because he wanted to try to get laid. He was a little older, and he got scared and took off and left me there. Walked around for hours. My friend was pissed off. We almost kicked his ass. That's one of the stories I have. Another story is I was 17, had a couple friends. They were partying out in this place called Hesperia Lakes. I was actually fucking surprised. My parents, after the football game, there was a couple people were going to go, and they were all in trouble. It just happened to me. I was the only one. But I had friends out there already. I'm like, where the fuck are they at? All of a sudden, I see people. Hey, James, it's me. Let's go. My parents, okay, have fun. I was like, wow, they really wanted me to get the fuck out of there. I was surprised too, especially how religious they were. So I go out there, have a couple beers. I had this guy. Don't want to say his name because he passed away, and he had bushy hair, and he talked like Chong, bro, I'm fucked up. He talked like that. And it was hilarious because he was a cool guy, but he had like long bushy hair. He looked like a fucking tumbleweed. And he talked, hey, what's up, bruh? But out of respect, he passed away. But it was for his party. So he had a hot sister at the time. So yeah, I tried to date her. We actually dated for a while. It didn't work out. She went on with her life. I did too. All we're gonna say. But during this party, they had a friend who was a little older. This guy looked like he was about 18 or 19, and I was probably about 17, just turned. Todd was a little older, he's about 18. So the crazy thing that happened was that they're all, hey, you guys want to smoke some weed? So just remember, I'm a minor, so I can get away with this shit I'm saying now, because you can't go back on to minors stuff. So um, I start smoking whatever that's supposed to be weed. And about 30 minutes later, I knew it wasn't weed because I couldn't stop laughing. And it wasn't that's funny because of that. But the point is that instead of being tired, I felt like I wanted to run a marathon. So we go to the soccer field. It's about a mile away. We hear these fucking dogs. Blah, blah. I just start running. When you smoke weed, you don't run like that. I ran like a marathon. So what I think was happening is this weed was laced with either speed, and I think that's what it was because back then that was a popular thing, speed or cocaine. And I think it was speed because it lasted for a couple days. I remember I was laughing, but I could not sleep. I didn't go to bed for like 6 hours, and then like the whole night he's all fucking Aussie man. He's all bro, and he was doing this weird dance, and I just could not stop laughing. People were running around because they were smoking this shit, and they thought it was weed. Come to find out, it wasn't. Well, I remember about 4 in the morning, I decided to lay down, and there's this fat fuck named, we'll just say M. Everybody picked on this kid because he was an asshole. And some bad things happened in life, and I felt bad with him later in life, but he's still an asshole. He's just one of those guys you try to be cool with him and you just can't stand him. Well, this fat ass has his jacket, and I'm sitting there cold as shit because it's about September, and it gets cold in the morning, especially by the mountains. So I'm like, he's fat ass is sleeping, so I snagged that motherfucking jacket, put myself into it, and I just hear frizzly, and I'm sitting there laughing. I'm like, haha, you bitch. That's what you get. So I take the jacket, sleep in it. He gets up, fuck, you had my jacket. I'm like, and you're going to do what about it? So I threw it at him, and I was still fucked up. And I remember the guy who was had the hair kind of like a bushman. The goose started chewing his fucking hair, dude. He's like, dude, bro. And the goose started chewing. I started fucking laughing. We all started laughing. He almost fell in the lake, too. That shit was great. It's sad because rest in peace, he passed away, and he wasn't a horrible guy. And he was always cool, but he was a little older, and we did shit like that. And my wife trips out because she didn't believe me at first till she started meeting my friends. I did you guys see American Pie, guys. Now the only difference is we didn't fuck pies, and uh, you know, have a video with some hot ass chick there and getting naked and coming before she even fucks you. Nothing like that. Um, but I lived a crazy life, and I could tell you certain crazy shit like I told her. We had a rule. We would go down to the Del Taco, and I would eat like we were in the military because we had to walk a mile and a half, and we do it really quick. We thought we were real cool because my friend was, I could say his name. His name's Tom. He looked like he was 37 years old at 16, 17. He just had he was a Native American, so he just had the older features. So they believed it, and they would sell him beer and cigarettes. Plus, he had a hookup from his brother, got weed, and he got Miller because he worked at Miller. And we just partied all the fucking time. Had this guy that, like I said, that Ryan guy who's roofied that chick, and I don't think he roofied her. He just put a sleeping pill. He was stupid. Years on, had a little Jeep, and he was going around doing what he wanted to do. And they were the cool guys because he had the Jeep and the alcohol and this weed. So they would drive around, and we would hang out with these guys. So Ryan got a little older. He went in the military, whatever. So it was me and Tom, and we started hanging out with these people in the neighborhood, and we had some good times. And then it fell through like everything. And I still friends with some of them. Some people I could give a fuck if they died, and that's just how I feel. And I know Andy's looking at me like, "Fuck, you're an asshole, and am I gonna go to bed tonight?" I probably will, and and have a nice drink of water. It doesn't bother me. I'm that kind of person. I'm a dick. Um, except to my wife. I love her. Plus, she cooks really well. Um, but but that being said, um, I'm glad she's down the hill right now, not at my house right now, because I'd be sleeping on the couch. But That being said, I tell her all these stories, and she's like, "You gotta be fucking kidding." She talks to my friend, and they're fucking true. Well, in the '90s, I did crazy shit, bro. That it was a fucking high desert. It was fucking boring. Half the people didn't live up here like they do now. It was just fucked up, dude. There was just fucking desert. So everybody would go out and get drunk and fucking have bonfires. Like one night we had a bonfire and there was like 30 people. Well, this asshole decides to start throwing pellets on this big bonfire. He first thing they started at one time and they got it out. They had a fire extinguisher. About 5:30 in the morning, this dickhead decides to throw it back on there and then throw tires in there. Well, once tires start on fire, yeah, it's like chemical burn. And it went up like a flame. So we started running through the fucking desert. Our friend, his stepdad, I don't know what he was doing, but he had just got up and he had this little towel thing around him. And he had a beer in his fucking hand. It was about 6 in the morning. It was about right for him. We're all, yeah, the desert's on fire. All of a sudden, you see his son hiding in the trees, diving into the cars, and he runs in here. And they finally, and then he calls the fire department because in the middle at 6 in the morning, you see this big fire in the middle of the desert, about a half a mile away. So this is the kind of stupid shit we used to do, guys. Like they used to get, the engines, like you get this rockets you shoot up in the air. Well, one time they just got the engines and started the desert on fire one day. I wasn't there, but apparently the cops came out there. So the guy was hanging out with us, snitched on everybody. And the guy got in trouble for it and had to pay a fine. And I remember that one, and we didn't hang out with that guy much longer anymore. He like came around once in a while. Plus, he was weird. A lot of things I did, I don't know why I didn't go to jail and how I did not go to jail. Especially when one night I was about 17 and these guys were trying to hit our friends in the back street. We called it. I was about almost 18. I think it was about 18. I just had turned it. And he tries to hit these guys because he had his license for the first time. We didn't get along with these guys, so he tries to hit my friend who thinks he's Chong and the other fat fucker that I was talking about earlier in the back street we have in the back of the neighborhood. They missed him, so they came and get us. Well, that was a bad thing. There was about 30 of us drinking. We fucking followed this guy down about 3 or 4 carloads, and all I remember is this guy's all, I didn't hit him. I didn't try to hit him. I remember I popped him in his mouth. And then my friend Dennis took the aftershock. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like a cinnamon alcohol. And the only reason we would drink it is to eat the sugar, the sugar in the bottom. So that's the reason why we would drink it. It was nasty, dude. We used to steal the shit. But he took the bottle and smashed out the fucking window. We heard it up in haul ass. Well, I was drunk and something else. And I remember I was laying in the back of my friend's bug. He had a little Volkswagen bug. They all took off, and I was laid there for a little bit. And I was high. His parents, they were drinkers, so they didn't care. They let us drink at their house because they would rather us be there and go and die in a car wreck or do something dumb. So they take off and leave me in the car. I start getting up about a half hour later, and I should have just went in, or they would have never found me. But they probably they didn't know who I was or where I lived. So I'm walking to the door, and the fucking cop rolls up with them in the car. Hey, he's all, get over here. What's your name? He's all, that's the guy that punched my brother in the face. I didn't touch him. He's all, yeah, he did. And I said, if you don't shut your mouth, I'm going to hit you again. I was so drunk. So they throw me in the back of a cop car. I was sitting there lying my ass off. Then I hear the fat motherfucker tell on everyone. They knew the guy's name. So it's like, fuck it, whatever. Yeah, but it wasn't the other dude. I don't know who the other guy was. So I played stupid. He goes, I know where he lives. And he showed the dude where he lived and got him busted. And then he tried to lie and say I told on him. And then the guy who didn't want us to kick his ass, he lied and told everybody what happened. So that being said, that was another one of my crazy stories. My parents, if they listen to this, they're going to say, what the fuck? Because they never knew some of this shit. We used to go out and party all the time. It was nonstop. That's why I have a lot of great memories and I have a lot of bad memories, because when you do drugs and drink, and bad things happen when you're young. And when you have 30 different guys and about 10 or 11 girls, there's always going to be a fight over somebody. And that's another thing that always would happen. There would be 3 or 4 guys like in one girl. And that would always cause shit, especially when people drink. They would cry, get in fist fights, chase people in the trees to get them out because they would get their heart broken back, in the 90s. It was a different world. And I lived a lot of crazy parties, guys, and I did a lot of crazy shit. I got drunk one night and woke up in half of the lake. Well, I don't know how the fuck I got there, but I drank about 20, 30 beers in about 2 hours. That wasn't a good idea. And smoking at the time. I remember I just woke up in I'm like, how the fuck did I get in the water? I'm just telling you, there's some of the dumb shit I've done. And I used to do dumb shit. Like one time I got high for about 8 hours in this hole we dug in the middle of the desert. And it was where we had fire pits. And we had like people found me and I was like, just sitting there, blah, like I was out of my fucking mind. Like I was just blown out. And I don't care because I was 17, I can get away with this. I remember like the one dude's, I've been looking for you all day. I said, I've been out in this fucking hole all day. I wasn't going to go anywhere. At the time, my parents, I didn't get along with my parents a lot in my life. And so that's what I would do. That was my way out of things. And it wasn't the best thing to do. And I regret it. And I had a lot of bad issues when I was a kid. I got picked on until I lost a bunch of weight and I changed and learned how to fight and that changed. I did a lot of things that I don't know how I got away with and how I'm not dead. Like when we shut off fireworks about 2 a.m. and we didn't realize how big they were. And it was like shooting up for 4th of July. And these people chased us through the whole neighborhood for about 3 or 4 hours and we got away. One night I was about a little younger, I was about 16 and we were drinking smeared off. And not smeared off, Jägermeister. And we would freeze it. Yeah, I know. We were young and stupid. But you just drank it. So one day we took the stop sign, and this was when the town wasn't that big. So we put it in the middle of the street, and every time somebody would come, they would have to get out of the car and move it. It was fucking cold. Well, we kept doing it for about an hour. Somebody called the cops. All of a sudden, we'd lay it down. We see it. We lay down the sign. We run about 100, 200 yards, and it's the fucking cop. You motherfuckers, stop there. So back then, it was night. So we would just keep the sand down there because we're in the desert. He's all, I could see you. So we started running. We run by the church. We ran for hours. Back then, they send the helicopter after us because there was nothing else going on in that town. We hid in the sewer for like an hour. There was like a sewer they were just building. We hid in there for over an hour and a half. There's no way they were going to find us, but we ran around for 3 hours from the cops that night. And we were supposed to go hang out. And I remember that. Fuck, I was so pissed off. I remember I got home at like 5:30 in the morning. We were running around since like 12:30. It was it was like 5 hours. It's just some of the dumb shit I did. And I'm surprised I'm alive. And I just did dumb shit. I did acid when I was 16, 17. All I remember that is I jumped out of a car. I didn't think it was working until I went to McDonald's. I knew the guy that worked at the store, and so he sold me a couple packs of cigarettes. It looked like 7 packs of cigarettes. And then I went out and I got in a fight that night. I got jumped into a gang. I hate Budweiser, and this guy had like a keg of Budweiser, and I was drinking it like it was orange juice. Yeah, it was a fuck night. I remember it snowed that day, and I was wearing shorts, and I don't remember a lot of it. That's just some dumb shit I was doing, guys. This is why I was gonna say this is gonna be some crazy shit you guys heard. I don't do this anymore. I was young and stupid. I was not, I was exploring 16, 17, and 18, and I wanted to try it, and I never did it again. Trust me, it was. I remember coming down, going to my friend's house at 12 in the afternoon, and his little fucking brother kept fucking with me, dude. And I fucking threw something at him because he was being a little dick, and I remember that. And he's like, leave him the fuck alone, dude. He's been tripping all balls all night. I was, dude. Like, I remember I couldn't look at this guy because he kept smiling at me. And the one dude who did it, he was out in the middle of the desert saying a Christmas tree was winking at him. So, I mean, that's the kind of shit you do when you do stuff like that. I remember they were jumping my friend on the back street, and I thought they were beating him up. They were jumping him into a gang. I'm like, fuck it, I'll fight you guys. They didn't know I was on acid. Like, I was fighting them all off, fucking flipping out. They're all shit. And I'm like, yeah, I forgot to tell you. I was on. So I was like, yeah, I'm never gonna do this again. That was true. I never did it again. I seen people do dumb shit on it. That's why I was like, yeah, I'm done. It never was my drug. I never got into it. A lot of people got into meth. I never liked meth. I fucking hate meth. I never really ever really got into it. Now fentanyl is big. I fuck fentanyl. Um, but meth really ruined a lot of my friends' life. And the guy Kevin who ended up not KG, that's what I'll call him. Dude, he did some dumbass shit when he get drunk. We had a fire pit. I don't know what possessed him, but he jumped in the fire pit and just fell in. We pulled his dumbass out. This is just one of the dumb shit he's done. One time he was at a party. He got too drunk and they were in the middle of the desert and he fell off the truck and he fell on cactus, like the big ass cactus. And he was passed out to the next morning. The guy woke him up. Are you all right? He was stuck in cactus. They had to pull thousands of cactus out of his ass. And I don't know if you know how bad cactus hurts. He couldn't walk for weeks. He was still pushing cactus out of his ass. That shit was fucking funny. But he had crazy shit happen to him. And he ended up passing away a couple years ago on a sad, sad way. And but he just did some dumbass shit. I love the dude, but he just was crazy. I remember one time he fell off the back street and they were drinking and they thought he died. They were going about 60, 70. This guy Nick came out and then there's a guy named Kyle. And he's all, don't worry, I'm an EMT. And literally went to go and give him CPR. He jumped up like a fucking movie and said, fuck no. And he ran away, ran around and tried to hit him. That's just how Kevin was. He was crazy. And he was a fun guy. Sometimes he wasn't, but he just did crazy shit. And that was some of the stuff he did. And he just, you would tell him to do something, he fucking do it. Like one time we got drunk and he went, well, steal Christmas lights from that guy's house, and he fucking did it while they were on. That shit was funny as hell. And that's the kind of dumb shit I did. One night they were out in the desert, him and his friend. Their car got stuck, so I took my van. It was a 351 Ford McDonald's special edition that a manager had, and I had a VCR TV. It was badass. I took that motherfucker and slammed their fucking car, so they move it. It fucked that car up, dude. Because I had like a steel fucking front end. It didn't do shit to my car. It fucked their car up. That shit was funny. And they went home and he said, "I don't know what happened." I'm like, "You have to know." His dad had to know what he did. Hey, you stupid fuck. He's all, somebody must have broken the house and took the car. I was like, no. It was like he tried to blame it on his brother. That's the dumb shit we did, man. Like, I wanted to make this show a little bit funnier and get some more laughs because we usually like doing that. So, because James, he's a little serious, but this was something I was going to talk about anyway. But I figured you guys would enjoy that and get a laugh at it because of the dumb shit I've done. One night, my parents took off and they got a brand new car. We were taking that motherfucker in the back street drunk, hauling ass, and almost hit a sign. And then I made a video and I fucking hid it somewhere. I think I still was somewhere in my parents' house at the closet I had. And my friend was taking my 22 and he was shooting it. And like, I'm like, it was fucking, we were dumb, bro. We did some dumb shit and it was great times. Like, Brent would fill up his spa and we would have beers and get fucking drunk and do dumb shit, but at least we were there and we weren't going out doing dumb shit. And it was just a good time. But sometimes we'd have issues with other people and fights, and they would come running to me because I could fight. And sometimes that wasn't always good, getting jumped and shot at. I've been shot at, stabbed, brick thrown at my head, hit in the nose with a golf club. Um, Hit in the face with a garage door. I've been hit by a car twice. Bitch that we were hanging out with, she tried to hit me with a car, ran over my leg. Shit hurt. Shit hurt. I'll tell you another story. We had a friend. My bike was breaking, so we had this guy weld this shit for like 3 hours. He welded this fucking bike. We got it. I'm like, let's go get some fucking donuts. We were drunk. So I ride down. This fucking lady hits me, dude. runs. Some old lady hits this right after I get the bike fucking fixed. It wasn't meant to get donuts that night. She fucking plows into me, and I flew off. And I remember my bike was in half, and they're all, "Yeah, I'll be all right." I was fucking dazed. I ended up getting a brand new bike out of that. That shit was funny, dude. I remember that. I would go out and ride it, but that's some dumb shit, dude. Like if I wasn't out drinking, I wouldn't have had that happen. But I did get a free bike out of it. That's the kind of luck I get. Dumb shit, and I would still get something out of it. That's the crazy thing. How crazy my life is. Like when I was younger, 13, they were riding the bumper boats, and I fell into. I don't know if you had a Scandia. It's kind of like golf and all kinds of shit. You got like merry-go-rounds and all kinds of dumb shit there. That's called Scandia. I don't know if you guys have it out there back there. They had bumper boats. My fat ass fell in the water. And I was 13, and I'm like, I knew it. I was trying to get on the boat. I fell right in. It was fucking freezing. I was getting laughed at. It was like it was so embarrassing. Dumb shit would always happen to me. And I don't know why. Dumb shit would always happen to me when I was a kid. It just I had just bad luck in my life. Like I had got a allergic reaction to penicillin. I've took it for years, and I finally my body didn't like it. I locked myself out of the house while I had a reaction, so my body was itching. I kicked the door in at my house when I was like 16, and my parents almost killed me, dude. I remember busting the door, and I'm like, "Hey, I couldn't stop itching. I was fucking dying, dude." I was like, "Fuck!" I had to lay down. It was in my nerve endings, but that was fucking dumb, dude. That's the dumb shit I did. And I laugh when people like they're all this is partying. That ain't motherfucking partying. Shit, we used to do keg stands like 6 or 7 times, dude. Then we go out and fuck in the middle of the desert and go do something stupid and fucking either start a bonfire or fucking all kinds of dumb shit, dude. Like it was mayhem. And if our parents knew what we really did, it was we made a fort. We would get drunk and high there. It was crazy. I remember one night I got drunk and high. I was 17, and my parents had codeine, so I'd take it for my medicine because I was had thyroid issues, so I had to take codeine for it. I'd sit there and drink that, then go get drunk and smoke. And my parents live about a half a block away from my house, maybe even less. It was on the next street. I remember I tried to walk home and I was seeing tracers. I was like walking sideways. And then my other friend, like, he couldn't get his jacket off for like 5 minutes. We were fucking. And then my friend was covered up like the Grinch, dude. Like, he's like, "What's up, bro?" Like, and he would talk like that. I had a black light and I fucking had my hand on it. It was burning me. I did some dumb shit, bro. Like, I don't know how I survived it. Like, I really am like one of those Californians, like you see on TV. "What's up, bro?" I loved it. I love the stuff I did. I don't regret it. I've always been this way, and I had to learn it. So what you saw in California, Orange County really is like that. People really do party like that in the 90s. Punk was a big thing. There was a lot of Nazi skinheads we had to deal with. That's what always happened. Back then it was bigger, the Crips. And there that was the really the sum of it. We had all kinds of people like that, and most people got along, but we had our issues. I was a skater, and that's the kind of stuff I did. And it was kind of like mohawk my hair. We would play spin the bottle. We'd play Magic the Gathering. It's just dumb shit like that. And then I would get drunk, play spin the bottle with girls. It was a fun time, guys. And people think I'm crazy, but I tell them stories. I'm like, fuck, you had a crazy ass life. I did. I got high for the first time when I was 11 years old, and me and my friend played in the middle of traffic. Probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But back in then, it wasn't that big of a town. His brother was older and got us high. The neighbor that I live there did the same thing. He got us high at 12 years old. So you don't know any better when you're 12, 13 years old. I remember when I smoked my first cigarette. It was about 10 or 11. I came home and I told my parents I wasn't feeling good. I passed out because I was like, I don't know what happened. It made me sick. Then I started smoking cigarettes for a long time till I was 32 and I quit. It's dumb shit I did, man. And throwing up a couple times. I remember passing out in the middle of this my friend's street. I'm like, "Oh, don't leave me here." I'm like, "What?" And fucking like a river was coming out of my throat. And that's just not stuff that you like to remember, but that's the kind of shit I did. Or getting fucking drunk and eating all his top ramen at his parents' house, and his parents would be drunk, so they didn't give a fuck. They were being a spa, and we would just get fucked up, and they wouldn't. I think they knew, but they just didn't care. And like the long as, like I said, long as we're there, but other parents would have killed us, so they would have found this shit out. And my parents would have killed me because my parents were born again Christians, so I had to hear about God all the time. So everything was evil. Yeah, if they knew what I was doing, yeah, they know a little bit now, and I just laugh at them like, what are they gonna do? I'm fucking 46 years old. I'm gonna do what I want. I always did. I never really cared what anybody thinked anyway, especially when I was in my teenage years. I beat somebody up and told them to go fuck themselves, and took off and jumped the fence and would go to McDonald's for the rest of the day. Because what we found out in California, after the third period, they got paid for you, so they didn't care. So I'm like, okay, well, they don't care. Whoppers sound good right now, so I hopped that motherfucking 18. I don't think it was like 8 or 9 foot fence. That's what they had. It was longer. It was like 10 feet. Jump that motherfucker and go take off and go get high or drunk and go eat Whoppers. It was fucking good, and I love it, and I'll still do it. I'll do it today. Um, Had some great times, great parties, guys. If you, if I had a whole day, we would talk about this, but I don't want to take it all up. But I'm gonna throw it ahead to Andy there and see what his opinions on my crazy ass fucking life.
Well, I wasn't too far behind you, man. That's the thing. Um, so I mean, I grew up in a small town, so we had to find shit to do, and some of the people I was with was definitely I mean, we were younger years, like 10, 11 years old. We were building like well, my neighbor, his his dad was a really cool guy. He would buy a bunch of toys, like motorcycles, and I remember we had a couple go-karts and shit like that. But when I was 13, I think it was 12 or 13, my parents, well, when I was 10 years old, my parents bought into this camping resort. It was a not a timeshare. You were actually an owner of the property. It was called North Fork Resort, and it was about 10 miles from my house where I grew up at and stuff, but totally, completely a different world, because the people that camped there that were members were from all over, whether they were from Baltimore area, DC, Woodbridge. I had friends from New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Oh man, I mean, from everywhere. And then there was people that would be members of other resorts across the United States that could make reservations and stay there. So the same people would always come like once or twice a year. Some of them had kids our age and stuff. So I was pretty, um, by the time I was 11, 12, 13 years old, I was pretty well versed in different lifestyles, I guess you could say. Some things didn't bother me, but up to prior to that, I grew up pretty much like an old redneck country boy, and we had go-karts, and we had uh, an Odyssey, if you remember what those were. We'd take them some bitches out and just roll them just to see how many times we could flip them and be inside of it. But my buddy's dad, he was like a dad to me too. He was a plumber, his own business. So he would take us with him in the mornings, and he would kind of have us, I guess you could say, more like runners, like whatever he needed done, like walk down and get me a screwdriver and stuff like that. And he'd pay us like $25 a week, but we were only working, roughly probably 3 hours a day. So maybe 15 hours a week, something like that. Most of the time I mean, he'd always buy us lunch, stuff like that. But $25 back then, man, we're talking like late 70s, early 80s, man. That was big money, for somebody that was 10, 11 years old. Same way, obviously, we bought bikes. That was the first thing we did so we could get around further. Um, but where I grew up at, they had some backcountry roads and stuff. So his dad had a CJ7 Jeep, which you could kick the you could put the front window down, man, like it would lay on the hood. And we riding that son of a bitch, man, all the time. And when I say ride, I mean like we were 12 years old driving this thing miles away from the house and taking guns and stuff because they were big hunters. And, quite a few times we'd run through fences, shit like that. Sometimes it was on purpose, sometimes it was on accident. But, the worst thing we did then, and this was, like I said, 11, 12 years old, is like his parents smoked. And we used to stay out in their backyard. They had these willow trees, and we used to go back there and put up a couple tarps, and that was our weekend getaway, because willow trees, they reach down to the ground practically. So that was already our cover, but we would go out there, we'd run extension cords, man, and have like a television out there with us with a VCR. Um, it wasn't no things such as microwaves or nothing then, so we'd build a little fire, make hot dogs, whatever we wanted, just simple. But man, we'd have bear in the middle of the night coming chasing us down, but we'd sneak away. So one time we decided that his old man had did some plumbing and shit at this old warehouse, and we found a mannequin. So he took the mannequin, man, and put like bib overalls. And back then Friday the 13th was huge, so we put like a Jason mask on him, stuff like that, the whole 9 yards. So we got this idea, man, that we took a rope and we threw it up over the electric line, like the power line coming towards the house, right in the middle of the road. Well, the way their house set at, like people would come down a hill around a turn and then they were right there. So what we would do is hide underneath the tree, the willow tree, with the other end of the rope, while the freaking, the mannequin dressed like Jason would be in the middle of the road laying. And these people would come down, man, the road flying, and they'd come around the turn, and we'd pull that rope, man, and it would stand straight up in front of them. And we were cool. I mean, people got pretty pissed off, man, but we didn't realize how bad we were until we made this guy wreck and go down through the hollow and shit. And so we ended up, man, having to stop that because the cops came and all, but we thank God we were young. But anyway, just crazy shit like that. We bought a car. So there was a garage that was in the little town we were in, and we were both, I guess I was 12 probably then. And we decided he had this car out back of the shop, and he would use it. He'd paint cars there. So he would use this car to like look at what it would look like on the other cars. So this car had 20 different colors on it, man. It was a big old Chrysler Cordoba. And anyway, he had a for sale sign on it one day, and we rode by and we told my buddy's dad he should buy that for us. So he stops in one day, finds out, man, they wanted like next to nothing for it. So we had enough money saved up from working that summer with him that we could make almost the whole payment. And he went ahead and threw the rest of it in. And he let us drive this sumbitch when we were like 12, 13 years old. But we drove it what we called it the woods vehicle. We chopped the top on it and took like insulation he would use for plumbing, and we put it across like all the way around the car, like where we cut it off at so nobody'd get cut, and took the windshield out of it. And we take that fucker, man. We built this. Well, he had a grill off the front of I forget what it was, man, like a tractor or something like that they would use. And we put that grill on it. Now his dad would be right out there with us helping us do this shit. And we'd take that fucker back through the woods, man, going 30, 40, 50 miles an hour. And we had a path that we rode dirt bikes on. So you can imagine it wasn't wide enough really for this big ass car. So we made a path for the car, and we would hit trees, man, going like 30, 40 miles an hour, man. And it would, thank God the seat belts and shit. But I have a buddy still to this day. He's probably mid 50s or a little older, man, that still has back problems. because we decided we were going to jump this pile of rocks that his dad had. And we thought that we'd just kind of bury the front end of the car and wouldn't go very far. Well, these rocks had set out there. They were fine rocks for like the driveway, but it set out there for like a year. So all the weather and shit like that had, settled in it, made it like hard as a rock. We hit that fucker, man, going about 40 miles an hour. And I just remember looking down at the ground, man, and we were, I know we were probably at least 10 or 15 feet in the air, man. And James, he'll back me up on this, man, next time, because he knows who I'm talking about, the guy I did stuff with. And, man, when we landed, dude, all of us was like, the guy that I'm talking about had the back problems. He was in the back seat with no seatbelt. He bounced all the way from the back seat clean up into the front seat up in the floorboard. So then everybody that's when my parents started camping at the resort. And I was 13 at that point, 12 or 13. And met guys from Woodbridge. They ended up being my lifelong friends, man, Todd and Troy. And so we would go around, man, at nighttime, and people would leave their coolers out by their campers with beer in it. So we'd go grab, beers out of it or whatever. The more we would drink and the more shit-faced we'd get, then we would go to see if they had food in their coolers. And we would, man, there was many nights there'd be a group of us, man, running around. We had to look out for security too, because they were there. And, my cousin one night, he was there and he come running down the middle of the road, and you could only go 5 miles an hour inside this campground. He comes running down the road. He's passing cars, man, on foot, carrying like a fucking pot full of some kind of beans and shit, man. You know what I'm saying? With this big ass spoon, and he's eating them. And they done stole this out of somebody's fucking cooler, Well, I guess he passes the people that were coming, because they used to have dances with bands there to like midnight. And he must have passed the people that he stole this off of, and they noticed that it's their fucking pan and shit. So that guy jumps out of the car. So we've got my cousin running with these beans and this big fucking spoon running away from him. This guy's chasing him drunk as shit, man. He's falling down and then getting up, and he almost catches him, and then he'd fall down again and shit like that. Well, anyway, my cousin turns around and beats the shit out of this dude with his own spoon and his own fucking his own fucking bowl, or not a bowl, but like I mean, it wasn't a frying pan, but it was like, I don't know, something you'd make like mac and cheese in or something, what I mean? He was beating the shit out of this dude with that spoon, and you could hear it, cocoon, cocoon, like it was that shit. Anyway, man, cops got called, and so they rounded all of us up. I remember standing there, and my dad was there. I was like, oh shit, he knew we'd been drinking. So, but it was the same way like with you, man. They knew if we were inside that resort, because we didn't need to go anywhere else. The resort had swimming pools, the river running through it, man, ponds, mini golf. I mean, any basketball courts. I mean, anything that you could practically think of, they had it. And so they knew that we weren't doing it. They'd rather have us there getting shit faced and stuff than to be out on the road and doing something stupid. So my dad decided. So the cops came and stuff, man, and they were trying to explain to him that my cousin had stole this pot and this spoon full of beans, and then beat the shit out of the guy. And the cops dying laughing, man. He's trying to figure out what's going on. We're all standing there, Other sheriffs came in and stuff. They're standing around us. And so my cousin said, well, why did you beat him? He said, he grabbed me and tried to hit me. Well, that's all it took to clear us, man, because they gave the guy, the owner of the beans and the fucking spoon, they gave him an option of either dropping charges or whatever they were planning on doing and forgetting about it, or my cousin could have turned around and got him for trying to beat a minor and stuff, and so it was all over and done with. So the old man wasn't too happy about it. And I remember all week, man, all I heard, because we would live there during the summer, man, because my mom worked for the school system, so she was out from, the whole summer. So to save money, they would, they would cut all the electric off pretty much other than what was needed at our home. And then we would stay down there in the camper because we only paid a fee once a year. And, that was it. Plus, parents didn't have to screw with us. We were out and about the whole damn day, and, but anyhow, I remember them talking. I couldn't leave the camper for 3 or 4 days. And so my dad thought the best way to keep me from drinking is to get me shit faced on something nasty, get me sick, and I'd never want to drink again. That's kind of what he thought. So he had Food Line lemonade and vodka, and he was mixing it, man, and I was drinking the shit out of it. I remember I'd been drunk before or buzzed, but I'd never been drunk. And that night, man, I got drunk. And anyway, I loved it. You know what I'm saying? So it backfired on him. So every weekend, man, we were drinking. And I mean, talking about doing crazy shit, dude. We would go in the little town that was there. One guy would stay sober. And one time we had a guy from Baltimore with us. And he dressed and looked like Vanilla Ice. Like the rapper, like back when Vanilla Ice was, top 40 type of shit. So he looked like a little wannabe, and stuff like that. Wore like the Miami gear and the hat backwards. He was a big dude, man, for a teenager. And I won't say his name because, So anyway, went in town. Well, he was gonna do something, man, fucking reckless. And so we had 2 cars going in town. Had walkie-talkies. So we're riding around, man, with these firecrackers and smoke bombs and shit. And we're throwing them out, man, on people's front porches and shit like that. Well, we go down the main street in this little town, and they had a bar in that town, but everybody knew it was a whorehouse. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew that you could go in there and get a hooker. And so we were driving by, and there was some little bitty Chinese dude, man, Asian guy, sitting out on this bucket full of freaking money, man. Like you could see the bills sticking out the top of it and shit. So Chuck calls back on the walkie, and he says, "Man, I'm gonna go gank this son of a bitch and take that bucket full of money, man." And we're all laughing, We're like, "That's armed robbery, dude." You know what I'm saying? That's kind of. He's like, "I don't care, man." He just thought he was a badass from Baltimore. That's what he kept saying. But anyway, so the plan was we were going to go down the street and park. They had like this little gazebo area, and it had like a half a U parking lot, so we could park at where they couldn't see us, but we could see that. And then the other car that he was in, they were going to drive down. He was going to stop right before this Asian guy, get out, walk down, and ask this guy like directions or something. And this guy, then once he got the guy's attention or whatever, he decided that was when he was going to hit the guy and then take the bucket and haul ass. And then they would leave, and we would wait a little bit, and then we would take off. So had the plan together, man. Anyway, they go driving down. We're watching them. This dude gets out, man. He walks up to this Asian guy, and he doesn't get one single heart, like barely a word out, man. And the Asian dude stands up, and he just decides to swing at the Asian guy. Never asked him. Well, this Asian dude ducks it, man, and I swear he kicked him so freaking hard in his head, man, that we heard it all the way like a half a block away. It sounded like somebody hitting a freaking watermelon, man. Kaboom, like that. And Chuck was his name, the guy that was with us. He he hit the ground, man. He went to get back up, and this dude, like I said, this guy Chuck was probably 6'2" for a teen, man. He was tall, And the Asian guy was probably like 5'2", 5'3", something like that. But he beat the shit out of Chuck. Dude, we sat over there and laughed so freaking hard that I was almost throwing up because, Chuck was this big bad dude, man. And here this little bitty Asian guy, man, is just beating the shit out of him, man. And so anyway, finally, my buddy and them have to get out of the car and pull him into our car. And we get back to the campground, man, and we're all sitting there and we're trying to clean him up a little bit. He's bleeding. And he says, man, my chest is killing me, man. And I said, well, no wonder he kicked you right in it. So Chuck takes his shirt off, man, and no shit. Here was a big fucking imprint, and it had the Nike fucking emblem right on his chest, man. That's how hard the dude kicked him. But anyway, man, I would go to Woodbridge in the summers, man, and hang out with the guys. And we used to do some shit, man. We flipped a car in somebody's front yard one night drunk. Another time, man, my parents are gone, so I don't have to worry about it. But another time, guy tried to stab me and cut me across. I still got the scar. And my other buddy, man, was on a motorcycle or a dirt bike. He come flying down the street. I'm running away from this guy. And my buddy hits him at like 40 miles an hour, dude, on this motorcycle. And the guy it was so crazy because when Sean hit him, the guy like jumped at the same time. So he ends up on the bike with Sean at 40 miles an hour. They're flying down the road. Obviously, Sean couldn't see, man. Shit like that. They go, they go down. So I turn around and start running down the street behind him. And this guy's flipping out, man. Done dropped his knife and shit. And anyway, Sean decided he was just going to take it right down through the woods, man. And, as hard as he could. This guy'd have to fall off at some point. And I heard, man, all this thrashing and banging, and I could hear the muffler, man, get louder and shit and everything else. And then it got quiet, and I was like, uh-oh. So I'm creeping down through, couldn't see in front of me hardly, man, because it was dark. And I finally see, like, the tail light blinking, like I could tell it. I went down there, man, but as I'm getting closer to the bike, I'm finding pieces of it. Now, this was his old man's racing bike. And I found like the back tire, then I found like pieces of the bumper all the way down, man. And here the guy's laying there and he's, cussing the shit out of Sean. And I'm trying to find out where Sean is. And I hear Sean yell and I look back, man, he's up in a tree because anyway, as he was going down through there, I mean, this thing had pretty good shocks on it. So he hit this one area that bounced, man, and he just reached up and grabbed a branch and let that guy go with the hanging off the front of the bike and shit. But that was some big time trouble there. But my friends Todd and Troy, their dad was he worked for the Washington Post, and I'll leave it at that. But anyway, he worked for them and he made really good money. Like he had started with them from like, pretty good. He was one of their oldest employees probably. And he would go to a lot of different countries for the Washington Post. And he brought back these mopeds from Japan one time. And he took us out there and he told us, he said, you guys can ride them on the property, but you do not take them out that driveway. Well, you know exactly what we did as soon as both him and his wife went, both their parents left to go somewhere. We decided, man, that we were going to take them out. Well, these things were more like scooters than they were mopeds. So they'd go about 50 miles an hour, something like that. So we're out riding around, man. The Potomac River wasn't far from their house. So we'd go down there, man. They had this big park down there and we'd ride through and talk to the girls and shit and stuff. And so we picked up these two girls. They were going to ride on the back of these mopeds with us. And down the road we go. Well, anyway, back then, man, the biggest mall around was Potomac Mills. and that was in Woodbridge. Well, they were still building onto this mall, but we were going to go to the mall. And so the way to get to the mall, we could either go this big, long, round, I mean, completely around half the town of Woodbridge, now city, to get to the mall, or we could go down 95. Now I'm talking about 95 that runs the highway that runs between, north all the way to Florida, 4 lanes, fucking traffic flying. So I'm following Todd, and he decides we're going to get on 95, man. So we're going down 95 highway on these fucking mopeds at like 50 miles an hour. And I think it was 55 at the time on the road. We've got these cars past us blowing their horn, man. These girls are freaking out and shit. Well, next thing I look behind me and I see blue lights, man, state trooper. Todd, he decides he's going to take off down the railroad tracks on this fucking moped and shit. So I followed him. Anyway, we lost both the girls going down through there because they fell off the back. We didn't stop for shit, man. We just kept going. Anyway, they never caught us. And yeah, man, we got same thing. One night we, I'd been smoking weed, off and on throughout this time. And one night we went over to a buddy of his house, and they're all sitting around like staring at the walls and shit and everything. And he said, Todd said, "What the fuck is wrong with you all?" He said, eat this sugar cube. And he handed it to me, and at me one and him one. And I sat down, man, ate that. Well, it was dosed with liquid, LSD. Next thing I know, man, Todd's over in the corner screaming that he says, "I'm an orange." And that's all he kept saying, dude. And I'm laughing, dude. I mean, guts hurting from laughing and stuff. And all of a sudden, like, this dude's parents came home. And we're all trying to stay quiet in his bedroom because they locked the door, cut the lights out. And we're all tripping. And you can imagine, man, that you would get paranoid as shit, thinking you're hearing them coming. And then you'd start laughing. And this went on for hours, dude, hours and hours and hours. And but they would take, like, he had liquid Dawn, like the dish soap, and he would squirt it on his wall. And the black light, man, when you would watch it, it would look like, I mean, it would glow, and it would go down like it was melting down that. And anyway, we hear his mom and dad talking in the kitchen, and she's like, "Where the fuck's the dish soap at?" And oh my God, man, that was it, dude. They thought for sure that they were going to come through there. Like, how would they have known that their son had the dish soap in his bedroom? You know what I'm saying? But they thought for sure, dude. So he decides to get us all out of the house, and he lived on the second floor. And literally, we're all tripping. He opens up the window and he jumps like that. So the rest of us followed, man. Todd ended up, man, like screwing his ankle up. I remember I like busted my elbow up, man, all kinds of. So we woke up the next morning in Todd's garage. That was, well, I don't know how we made it home, but yeah, we ended up having to go to like the ER, the urgent care, whatever you want to call it. And they were trying to talk to us. You know how it is to come down off that shit. So we were still having little bitty things happen, and shit. His mom, she's talking to us, we're like, she knew something was up. And I mean, that's just, man, a minor little bit of shit that we used to do. Like, I mean, it was growing up, man, at the camping resort was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I got to meet all these people, man, from across, multiple states, from the city, from other, little towns and shit like that. I'm still friends with a lot of them. And yeah, man, I wouldn't have changed it. That's where all my life changing as a kid to a teen to a young adult happened at, was at that campground or with people from the campground. And yeah, man, good times. I mean, we set shit on fire by accident a couple times. I mean, all kinds of stuff, man. Through an M80 one time, we was all sitting around. They had a pavilion that they would have these picnics and shit at. But that's where the bands and shit would play, and they had a game room there. And my buddy's like, "Look, I got some M80s, which is a quarter stick of dynamite, And I said, "Well, what the fuck you could do with that?" And he says, "Watch." And he lights it, man. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All these people are packed around the pool and shit, which is right beside the pavilion. Throws it out there, man. And this son of a bitch goes off. And I mean, it sounds like dynamite, and oh my God, smoke everywhere, dude. It blew grass and freaking dirt like flying all over the place. And they thought one of the propane tanks had busted, had blew up, man. And that caused a big deal. Well, as the security's there checking to see what happened, they couldn't figure out. They're like, what in the hell was it? We could have, I didn't do it, but my buddy I was with, so I would have been just as guilty. Um, he could have got by with it. You know what I'm saying? He would have, because, they're looking at us and we're like, yeah, we didn't see nothing. We don't know what happened. And my buddy says, you know what, watch this. So he takes and lights another one while they're all standing there and throws it down over the hill past where they were at, and it goes off. And man, those guys were diving behind shit, man. They were done conspiracy theory. They thought for sure, man, somebody was there fucking firing off on them and all kinds of shit, dude. They locked down like the pavilion. They made people get out of the pool, all kinds of shit. And anyway, one person had seen him do it, and we had the dude cornered and in the game room. That's where we got locked down at, and he was going to tell them. He was going to tell on us, so tell on my buddy, and we stuffed him in one of those, like shit, the like basketball hoops that you shoot the timer and stuff like that, and the balls roll back to you. We literally shoved him up underneath where the balls rolled out, up underneath that, and covered it up with a beach towel and told him, you say one fucking word, man, and we're gonna beat your ass, and blah blah blah. Anyway, he never ever, man, said a word, kept quiet. And when they let everything go back to normal, he thought he was our best friend then. So he would follow us everywhere. And we would always try to get him to fuck away from us. He would try to follow. We were 14, 15, and he was like 11. And so people were pretty mean to him, man. I never really was. But they would throw him in the fucking river and in the ponds and shit, and take off running and shit like that. And anyway, I wouldn't help him get out, but I wouldn't help throw him in either. Kind of felt bad for him. But fast forward a few years later, man, when I was, I don't know, 24 or 25, we had all been at a bar in West Virginia, and a fight broke out. And cops came and arrested a bunch of us. And I'm sitting in the back of this cop car, man, and they're handing out tickets and shit like that. Well, they're starting to let some guys go. They're like, okay, here's tickets. They had drivers, like they'd called like girlfriends, wives, shit like that. So they were allowing these guys not to go to jail. They arrest them and then release them to their girlfriends and shit. And I'm sitting there, man, and I'm not noticing the guy in the front seat, the cop, and we're like fucking knew we were going to jail. We didn't have anybody to call. So my buddy's giving this guy shit, man, and I'm giving the cop shit, and the dude turns around, and here it was, that 11-year-old kid, man, but now he's a fucking cop. You know what I'm saying? Needless to say, that son of a bitch, man, took us to jail just for the point, and stood on the outside of the jail or the bars and just laughed at. We had to stay at night in the drunk tank is what it was. But yeah, man, playing in a band and shit, James will tell you, Jesus, man, kicked out of hotels, man, doing shit. Um, Field parties, man, where the cops would show up and they'd be yelling up at us on the stage, and we'd just keep playing, man. And they would get so pissed off, they'd finally pull the plug on us, and we'd still keep going, man. You know what I'm saying? Until finally they'd tell us, you're going to go to jail and we're going to confiscate all your equipment. Well, then obviously we had to stop at that point. But yeah, man, I'm lucky to be alive with some of the shit that I've done, man, like in cars and stuff like that. Just some of the stuff, flying, man, racing cars and shit at 100 couple miles an hour. And, I was in a Jeep one time that flipped 3 times. I was in the back seat, man, and thank God I had buckled up. We had the dog with us. So I put my buddy's dog beside me and pulled the seatbelt across both him and me. And if I wouldn't have done that, man, I I probably wouldn't have lived through happening because we were going down a big steep embankment and he decided to nail the gas. And when it did, it kicked the ass end around and we just started rolling, man. And yeah, the dog and I both, I grabbed a hold of the dog and held on, and the seatbelt kept us in the back seat. But yeah, that was when I decided that it was time to maybe calm it down a little bit. So there you have it. So back at you.
Well, thank you, brother. We've been over. It's a little over an hour now. We've been doing the show. Um, so we're gonna get into the second part of of what we were gonna talk about. Andy had his part he wants to talk about, and he was just talking. So what I'll do is I'll do a rebuttal about what he says for a couple minutes. I feel bad for the kids now because they didn't do the crazy shit that we did, and I'm not saying it was right, but they would have probably learned lessons not to do that shit now. And this is what we have crazy shit that happens now in life. I did some dumb shit that I'm not proud of. I never was. I know Andy's not proud of some of the stuff. It was funny, but I would have probably done it now. But that being said, there's some stuff I don't regret. um, Getting drunk in a teenage years where high school where that's just what happened. We got drunk, did dumb shit, and that's what we did to pass the time. Um, Robbing people's Christmas trees, stealing not Christmas trees, their lights, and taking out stuff out of the yard and stealing their Christmas ornaments and throwing them in the desert and burning them was probably not the smartest shit I ever did. But it wasn't the only thing. These are many stories. I could be here all night telling you guys about the dumb shit that I've done, and Andy could too. We could go back and forth. We've always had those friends that were dumb, and we were some of them too. Um, all I know is that I had a good time. Um, I did a lot of things that most people didn't do in their life. My wife, you gotta be kidding me. My wife's like, fuck, you did some crazy shit. I'm like, yeah. She's all, I got in a lot of fights too. I beat up people. I carried knives. I had a throwing knife. It was fucking this long, guys. I can't do it because I'm doing the phone, but it was about as long as about my arm. And I would throw it at each other and do dumb shit like that. I carried a 22 fucking handgun. I got shot at. I was dealing with people in gangs. I was in gangs. Um, but I would do dumb shit, man. It was throwing people through fucking fences and being drunk off her ass. I made out with a bunch of women all the time. That happened. That was always fun. That was, when you got out, and they were always cute. So, you know, we would all get high and drunk or something and smoke cigarettes because we all thought we were cool because we smoked Marlboro Reds. And so, you know how that went. And I think Andy probably did the same thing. And we all had fun times. Oh, man. I just getting drunk all the time and going to my parents' house and laughing, and they thought it was funny and didn't know why I was laughing. It's because I was fucked up. Eh, just like my friend, he got high and he was playing peekaboo with his mom and dad. Yeah, he still smokes. Uh, but he was so high, he was playing peekaboo with his mom and dad in the blankets. I was like, fuck. They went over the next day and they told me about it. What happened is, I'll tell you this one. I was about, we got a joint. I bought a half ounce of Chronic back when Chronic was first coming out. Re-rolled this motherfucker in a big old blunt. We didn't quit smoking that for about 2 hours. I remember I was fucking went to my parents' house and I passed out. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I passed out in the front yard for like 2 hours. They're all, get up. I'm just sitting. I just don't feel good. I remember I was so high the next day. My dad had me, I was about 18. He had me drive him to work because the car was broke down. I was still high. I shouldn't have been driving. I remember I went home and passed out till like 12 in the afternoon. Um, I remember him telling me that, and they were laughing at us because he was so high that he was playing peekaboo with his mom, with the blankets and laughing. That motherfucker, me, him, and his other dude, we did not quit smoking it the whole time till that thing was gone. and I was fucked. I remember that. I was like, I was high for like 6, 7 hours. And back then, you know, it's just the dumb shit I did. Like on homecoming night or prom night, we got a hotel, 2 rooms. Well, that's when Chronic first came out. I was 17. And we had this bong that my friend Tom had. He made it out of a honey bear. It looked like the honey bear, but it made like a thing where you could hold it and smoke it. So I remember I was hitting Chronic in the room next to us. There was like a couple of us, and they were all partying in another room. I remember I got so fucking high, I passed out. 2.5 hours later, waking up to somebody getting in a fist fight. Couple people were fucking and got caught. I remember getting told this stuff, and I was so high, I was like laughing. And I remember like later that night, we were all laughing at our friend, calling him Comanche Tom or something. I was dying. I just was so high. But I remember that's how fucked up I got, dude. I don't even remember half that party, and I know everybody quit being friends with each other. Half the people hated each other after it. I guess all this drama had it. The people who were supposed to be at the homecoming we didn't get along with, they got our prom. They got there and tried to start a bunch of drama, and all I was like sound asleep in the next room. So I woke up to like, what the fuck is going on? Like we got there at like 10, I passed out like 11:30, 12, and I woke up at 2:30 and all this shit that was going on. I'm like, fuck, we didn't get in trouble. It was crazy. We're teenagers. I'm like, fuck, I did some dumb shit, dude, and I got away with it. Get drunk with my friend and his mom. She'd make Italian food, like our like a fennec. They were, and I would get high and I would drop weed that we were smoking with her. And I was 16 years old. We would get high. Was his dad would be gone for a weekend, and we would get high with her and she wouldn't care. And we were I would spill weed in the food and mix it in there, and we even got more higher. It was fucking great, dude. I had a great life, guys, when I was a kid. I had a lot of from 15 to about 23, or 22, I had a pretty good life till I got unfortunately my ex-wife pregnant, and then we had a kid, and I don't regret that, but the marriage is a whole different story, and I'll just leave it at that. But that being said, I'm going to throw it over to Andy. I gave him a couple minutes so he can tell us what he was going to talk about.
Yeah, man. We could go on forever. Um, so, as you know, all of us that are on this show are paranormal investigators. I have a team. James Hershey and I started Vapor, which is Virginia, or the Valley Agency of Paranormal Research, and Shadows Pit Paranormal was old boy scene. So, even though we're screwing around and fucking off on this show and stuff like that, we take the paranormal and what we do for people pretty seriously. And so I do, lectures at some of the what they call paracons, which is like a Comic Con, but for paranormal. And I get asked like a couple weeks from now, I'm going to be speaking at the Gettysburg Library, stuff like that about paranormal, so I talk about it. And also, I'm the general manager of Ghost City Tours in Gettysburg. So, paranormal is a huge part of my life. And, I take it, like I said, seriously. The paranormal field's so fucked up and screwed up right now, man, and egos and shit like that, that it's almost sad, because 35, 36 years ago when I started, we actually didn't tell anybody that we were investigators, because they thought we're out here chasing ghosts and shit like that. They thought we were satanic, you know what I'm saying? Something like that, or messing with stuff. But anyway, I've always done it either for answers and curiosity or to help people. And so I'm on these forums, man, that are on, Facebook chat rooms. There's a paranormal chat room, man, that's like, well, it's getting to be worldwide now. And we all go on there, man, and people share evidence and stuff like that. But the chat room was supposed to be to kind of network teams or people or whatever. In other words, like, if somebody came on there and they said, hey, I was contacted by somebody in California, and they're out by you, old boy, so I'm going to throw you their info and stuff, and hopefully, you can help them. And that's the way it all started with talking. But then they started letting other people in, and it started to become a novelty channel, is what I call it. In other words, you had people taking pictures of fucking dust and shit and claiming it was orbs and that they're getting, you know, uh, Satan himself is fucking in their house and all that bullshit. And it's like some contest, man. What if somebody can answer after they watch this? And if somebody's got a good answer for this, I would love to hear what it is. But why is it that people are so dead set to capture paranormal on camera that they are willing to put up the most stupid shit that isn't paranormal, and then they will argue like it's their dying last wish to make sure that you are going to say, "Oh, I see that ghost that's in the toast over there, the ghost that appears in the refrigerator and shit like that." But the thing is, there is no professionals in the paranormal world. A lot of people try to say that, but something that's always evolving and changing every day and new things happening and learning new things, there's no way you're a professional. You can be a seasoned person like all three of us are that have seen quite a bit of cases, been to quite a few big places and stuff, man. Even if it's been pay and play is what we call it. But the thing is, we're seasoned, so we go on these pages, and I am the first person to admit that I don't know it all, and I'm open and willing to listen uh, every day, man, about something that somebody else has been working on or a theory that they have. Even if I disagree with it, I'll listen, I'll read about it, whatever. And it's my choice at that point to make a comment or to, move on. And if that's what that person feels, that if it works for them, then fine. But today I came across something, and this is what I was going to say. Not only making fun of this shit, but it's also sad and kind of pisses me off. But a gentleman came on, well, a woman came on, had posted on there, and she said, because sometimes it's live chats, sometimes it's just posts. And this woman said that, she had lost both her sons at the same time, and it was a car accident, which was sad, very sad. Um, they chalked it off, the police chalked it off as two kids out racing cars, driving like idiots, maybe alcohol. They tried to say maybe pot, but they could never do. The autopsy came back that they were clean, is what she was saying. So from that point, man, the way once they got investigating this incident, unfortunate incident, they found remnants that another car had hit them on the backside, like on the driver's side, almost like what you would think you would see if a cop was trying to do, the pit maneuver. And so, being where it was, and I'm going to leave all the information like that out because don't need to have that put out there. But where they lived at, it was big. It is known for a lot of gang activity, and there's a certain gang that is known for wrecking people for whatever reason, like initiation and shit like that. Like they have MS-13 around here now, and one of their initiations is to take out somebody, to kill somebody, and there's been a few times that people have gotten in their cars and there'll be a person in their back seat, man. And thank God so far, well, I shouldn't say up here, this was down in Virginia, that no one's been killed yet, because either the person that was supposed to do the killing would get talked out of it, or they would realize how fucking stupid it was and horrible it could be, or the people who defended themselves and got lucky and didn't get shot. So anyway, leave it at that. So what mom does is mom hires a detective to start checking into the possibility that these kids will run, her boys will run off the road. And as this is going on, she starts to have paranormal activity in her house. And it got to a point, man, that she was pretty sure that it was at least one of her sons, if not both of them. So in situations like that, man, people grieve a lot differently. So the possibility of her hoping that this would be her children and stuff like that. Sometimes, you just, the creak of the house when you're missing somebody and they just passed and you hear the creak in the house and you just want that assurance that they've moved on to a bigger, better place. And that's what some people thought. Well, she was on this channel because she was asking for people that were in her area where she lived at, which is Maryland, and she was asking for help. She wanted to bring in a team or a person to come in and try to find out if this was her children and if they were trying to communicate from the other side to tell her what had really happened. So it was a pretty emotional situation. They've been gone now for about 2 years. So she was pretty solid. I mean, I'm sure it still brings up, some rough memories and stuff. But this gentleman gets on there, man, and he has a picture of himself close up in the camera, blurry. Looks like he's holding something, like you could see his shoulders, but you couldn't see his hands or his arms. But there's this thing going over his left eye, like where he was holding like a spoon. But I don't know if you remember, like the real long spoons they used to give you at like Dairy Queen, the red ones that were like a foot long that you could eat your ice cream with. And it looked like one of them that he was holding over top of his left eye. And then there was a blurred out black object right above him. And he's got the camera like literally about as close as I am right now. Little black, up in the corner where the W is there. And then, like I said, looked like he was holding something like, it would be like me holding it here, like my hand, you can't tell, what it is, but you can see my shoulders raised. So anyway, this guy was trying to sell people, man, was trying to get this woman to fly him from wherever he was to Maryland, pay for the flight, because he tried to say, man, that he has a spiritual side to him. Now, I believe people have gifts, but he says that what picture he was showing us was a dead woman's dog. And that was, so how did he say it? This is how she shows trust. She lets her dog go before her to show itself, and then she comes along and shows herself. And this woman was there, and he said he's telling this grieving mother that that this woman reached out to him. This is the picture of her. You can see her starting to, he said, form and starting to come into shape. And you see, this is her dog that's right there at my left eye. I mean, just ridiculous out the wall stuff. But he was trying to say this woman was telling him that he needed to tell the mother of these two kids that, you know, that she had the answer of who killed her kids or if that really happened. But then he went into talking about ghost goddesses and talking about how he could heal people and how if he just showed the true reality of paranormal to the elite is what he kept saying in the paranormal. I guess he's talking about people on television. He said, if I showed the elite exactly what paranormal is about, he said they would be upset. The whole paranormal field would be turned on its head. He said, I can help people. I can heal people. He said, I can either heal you emotionally or physically. He was like, and I know that when I die, that I'm not, there is no heaven, there is no hell. There's just, what did he say? thousands of different dimensions and stuff, and we can allowed to pick which one we want to go to. And but the thing was, man, to say all that last stuff about the dimensions and stuff, dude, I have no problem with him saying that. If it's a belief there is no God and stuff like that, then that's his belief. But this motherfucker, man, was telling people that he could heal physical problems with people, and he could heal them emotionally, and that this picture that he was showing was the only proof in the world, exact words, only proof in the world that paranormal existed, and it was the only proof in the world that he was as gifted and could do the things that he could do. And he had this mother of these two unfortunate lost her boys, had this other man freaking out, crying. Um, so where I'm coming at this is one, man, you stupid fuck, man. Like, this picture that you're showing us, it's the biggest one in the world, or the best in the world, to show this and that. But where I'm coming from is, man, on this is it pisses me off, but it also is comical at the same time that people actually believe this shit, and people were about ready. Now, the mother, she was so pissed off by the time it was over with that she would have probably killed that dude if she could get to him. But there was other people in there that actually believed this sumbitch, man, and was willing to fly him like all over the freaking United States and stuff like that, man, and this and that, and like his profile. Like, somebody went on there, and a friend of mine did, and looked at his profile, and it was a AI generated picture. But then we found real pictures of this guy. This dude, man, looks like he's straight from the fucking hood and smokes meth. I mean, he really did. So this dude is like mentally lost, is what I would say. Do I believe people have special gifts? But dude, you're saying shit like biblical kind of stuff, man, that you can lay hands and heal people emotionally. And he could, but anyway, he was promising that he could talk to this woman's children if she paid for him to come out there and to fly him into Maryland, house him, feed him pretty much, keep him there. But he said it could be as soon as I walked off the plane, they could reach me, or not. It could be a week before they come through. But he said, I can touch you and heal you, is what he was telling her. Well, I jumped this dude's ass, man, which it might not be my place to do so. But the thing is, man, this guy is obviously mentally fucked, and people are out there believing it. I'm seeing the dude, he looks like a fucking crackhead fucking Snoop Dogg, and he's on there telling people that he can pretty much do what we've read about in the Bible and stuff, man, is lay hands and, cure him of cancer, but only if the ghost goddess tells him that he should do this to these people and shit like that. It's almost like a fucking science fiction movie, man, that you could write this, like this would be a hell of a script for a movie and stuff. But like I said, it's comical because this dude, either really believes it in his head, or he is a scam artist, or he's both. But what I did was go on with him, man, and I ate his ass up when it come to it. And I told him, I said, well, if you got all this proof and shit, man, and you really can help people like that, then why don't you do it for free? I said, and on top of that, if you can change the whole paranormal field by showing these pictures you have, then why wouldn't you do that, man? If you think you can make a difference in the world like that, I said, why would you hold that away from other individuals? And he said, because the elite would take him out because he, you know what I'm saying, thought that, I guess he thinks like the fucking paranormal, like the ones off TV, I'm not going to mention names, but he thinks that they're like fucking mafia or something, man. Like they're going to take him out if he proves that, this is what a ghost is, or this is that. And man, it just upset me. But at the same time, man, we were rolling on this dude, man. And it's like, people were picking on him and stuff. And this guy was really taken seriously, man. But I guess where I'm going with this is that it takes all kinds to make the world and shit, man. But we have got to start pushing out and being real with the fuckers that are either fakes or making up shit or they're mentally challenged or whatever the fuck it is. And, we all know that the spirit world is full of a lot of stuff. You and I both know, James, that fuck old boy, that, that bad shit's out there. We also know the good shit's out there. And we also know that people's loved ones are out there. It's an energy thing, a vibration thing, a frequency thing. And the thing is, you know, obviously we're all going to die. There's no way we can keep that from happening. And we've all studied to see, and we all do the things we do to try to get answers of what we have coming or what we have to look forward to. What's on the other side? What can we do? But also, we do it, man, to help people that are plagued with shit. You just did one for somebody that tons of people, this poor guy, man, tons of people freaking cheated him out of money, told him all this shit and stuff, and it still wasn't happening. And old boy goes out there and does his thing, and the guy so far is rid of whatever he had dealing with him. And it's not advertised. There's not a pat on the back. There's not, advertising it to everybody that they did this. But this stupid fuck man that was on there today is the plague that hurts this paranormal field, but it's also hurts people, man. It doesn't even have to be about the paranormal. It has to do with a woman, who lost two children, man, and she's grieving, and this fucker wants to try to take her for money, and he's telling her 110% that he could heal her emotionally and he could talk to her sons and that he would prove that they were murdered and shit like that. And it's like, but they don't want to kick him off to Facebook after all of us or get him out of this thing and keep him from saying shit. But yet I post a happy birthday to somebody the other day and got a warning that they would put me in timeout if I said anything like that again. Anyway, so that's all I have to say, man. I'll throw it over to you, dude.
Okay, this guy sounds like a real asshole, and they should do something about it. You guys should complain and say you're going to give me a warning, but he can sit here and lie to people. I would get a couple people to complain because he sounds like another winner. So we did the show the other night about what happened in the guy in Long Beach, Mr. Donald Pordeau. He was a well-known racer in the early 2000s, not even 2090s and 80s. He was a really nice gentleman, and he had all these people telling him they were going to help, especially somebody in Florida, try to charge him $1,750 and then to pay for his plane ticket. Another person that's supposed to be famous, and I'm not going to say their names. I don't know if they were, I think they were on Baggins' show. I don't want to say, I don't know for sure. Was supposed to be some fucking well-known psychic, helped him for a night and charged him 250 plus $200 in gas and wanted to charge him more. Didn't do shit. Other people couldn't do shit. The reason I met him was this crazy lady from Pennsylvania we all were dealing with. I'm not going to say her name. But at first I really felt bad for her. But come to find out, she sent me pictures just like he was talking about, and come to find out they're on the internet already. And Donald had told us that she made comments numerous times that she wanted to be on TV and admitted it to me, but said she was just saying that and wasn't meaning. And I tried to help her anyway, and she was absolutely batshit crazy. We had other teams tell her same things. And with Andy tried to deal with her, she was. And I don't hate the lady. Hopefully, she gets help for what she needs. I think she has a lot of problems and has to get PTSD, and I think she needs help. And I tried to help her, and she's even calling Don after all this, and he's had a blocker. She's insane. On Don's thing where he met her was on this like medium site, and these mediums knew who I was and said, "Oh, we're not like him. We do lighter stuff. He does the crazy shit." That's what I'm known for. I'm not trying to brag. I really am known for this. So is Andy. So is James. He knows some of the top people in this fucking industry, and they know who I am. They know who my wife is. Um, the guy from Ghost Hunters knows who I am. I'm not going to throw it. There's three or four of them. Actually, there's two of them. The other one follows me. They know who I am. They know who Andy is. They know our team. Tales from the Abyss slash Vapor in Virginia slash Pennsylvania, and Tales in the Abyss Shadows Pit in California. The Southern California part and Vegas part, if we go to Vegas. Sometimes I don't get out there. But I've had to help people from Baggins fucking museum, and they were cursed. I have my opinions on that. And I don't think, I'm not going to say Baggins is a fake. I've heard so many stupid shit. I know there's a lot of hate too. We got to give it to people are just jealous because they're not where Baggins is. He's a multi-millionaire. He made it. So did Ghost Adventures. They made it. He's a millionaire almost, or around that. I've looked it online. He is a millionaire. Sorry, I don't want to go look it up. You don't believe me. He's a nice guy. Oh, I met the guy from Ghost Hunters. He actually talked to me. Ghost Adventures, I haven't met Baggins yet. He knows who I am because one of my guys went there and talked to him, and we had the same issues. We had people who we've had in both teams get a little bit of known, and then they think they know everything. Andy's had quite a few issues with people. He had one who thought she was a witch and got pissed off because Andy called her out on her shit and kicked her off the team, and then she went around trying to ruin our name. Even kept us from getting on a show years ago. We could have gone on and fucked it up. It's still going to happen now, but because they found out the whole story, the idiot didn't know what she was doing, and she also got involved in a case she fucked up and got somebody hurt over it. Then we had a couple other people we've had issues with that they tried to take over conventions and think they knew everything and started a bunch of drama and got kicked out. Then we have psychics who couldn't tell themselves to the side of a horse's ass that they know everything and they don't, and they can't even get their own wedding right. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. that and you know, maybe they should, instead of worrying about ripping people off, thinking they're psychics, should go back and make Ice Age 7. That's all I'm going to say on that one. I'll leave it at that one. And Andy knows who I'm talking about. Or we have people who have fake dolls who are not really fucking haunted, and they say they are and make up bullshit. And we have the same opinion on that. And there's not just them. There's a bunch of people who do this shit. And then there's people who think they're mediums out here in California where, yeah, I'm a medium for 30 years and I don't smell any sulfur. And then we took a picture and there's a fucking demon on top of her head, dumbass. And we showed it to her and she never came back again. She made up, oh, I'm sick. And we never seen her again, dude. Then we had the one guy who ended up being a fucking pedophile. I don't want to talk about him too much, but he thought he knew everything and he was an idiot. Then we had another guy that he thought he was gonna sneak in what is it, Oral Grand out there. They have a Indian burial ground out there. Also have a cemetery, but he said it, yeah, I'm gonna go in there, and he climbed the fence and said a skinwalker started following him, and he had all this bad luck happen to him. His roommate got busted watching child porn. He got kicked out of the house. And this is supposed to be the second time. I was like, yeah, okay. He had all kinds of got in an accident, got all kinds of weird shit happening to him. Fucking idiot, dude. Another guy we took out couldn't work a fucking camera worth the fucking to help him. Tried to help this guy. Got an argument with one of our main teammate James. Thought everything was cool. Was going to other teams back east, telling them shit about us and trying to instigate shit. And that's all I'm going to say about it. We never said anything about this. We've had to deal with this, and and a lot of people know how this person really is. And he has a nickname, and we'll leave it at that. It's just this is the kind of shit that we deal with, and they're full of shit. And calling me and James to try to get on video at Penhurst to make people know who he is, and he knew famous people. And Andy's had the same issue with people calling to try to show off because they have somebody there with them that might be known or we're on a TV show. This is the shit that we deal with. having people come on my show telling me that we could fake evidence to make it look better. No, you're gone. We're not going to deal with it. That happened a long time ago. No, we don't do that kind of shit. I don't lie. That's the problem. We don't lie and people don't like it. We're not going to fake. I mean, get it. I get it. On TV, we're going to have to make it look a little better than it is. That happens. But I'm not going to lie about evidence. I'm not going to fake evidence. I'm not going to sit here and say, I went into a house one night and all of a sudden I felt really hot in my head. I wanted to punch my camera guy in the mouth, but I didn't. So instead, I choked myself and I passed out for 20 minutes and I got back up. And then I saw my other teammate and I wanted to slap him. So I charged at him and started yelling and screaming. But I fell down and passed out for another 10 minutes and I was possessed. Next week, I went into this other haunted place I was at and I started getting sick and I threw up. Whoa! And then I got possessed again. Every fucking week you get possessed, bro. Come on, get the fuck out of here with that shit. You know what? If you believe this shit on TV, I know it's entertaining. 99% of it is bullshit. Yes, there's really stuff that's haunted or really are going to haunted places, but they're making it. And I'm not saying everyone does it. I'm not. But a lot of it is bullshit. Andy will tell you it's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. It's not fun sitting for 7 hours doing evidence to get an hour worth of shit you guys can watch. Because you're not going to watch it if you just saw what we're doing for 6 hours. Hey, tell me your name. 2 or 3 minutes go by. Things, oh, fuck you. Tell me your name. My name is Peter. Well, Peter, what have you been doing? How did you get here? I used to be a cat. Okay, you used to be a cat, but what are you haunting this place for? My name is Steve. Something else will come out of it. It will just go on and on for hours. People don't realize this shit. And then we have, and as people exaggerate, they know everything. And like this one dick that Andy's telling me about right now about us talking, he knows all this shit. He doesn't know a motherfucking thing, dude. If you're that stupid to believe this kid, you deserve to get what you get. I'm sorry. I'm not like everybody else. I'll tell you how it is. And that's the problem. That's why people don't want to hear why me and James go, because James, we know how he is. But I can rant myself. And some of these people, I would love to have a talk with them, and they're probably not going to like what I'm going to say. And I really don't give a fuck. You know what? They need to be brought out to the truth. They're full of shit. They want to be famous. They want to be on TV and they want money. And that's what the truth is. They're not worried about helping people. There's few that do. Don't get me wrong. There is quite a few people who are trying to help, but a lot of people think it's always about the TV show. I heard that shit for years from numerous people I work with. That's all they would talk about. Go out to dinner with them. It's just about the fucking show or how famous they want to get. Go to conventions and try to follow around like puppy dogs and try to get pictures, and they get laughed at from these people, and that's what they're known, and don't realize that people remember them from that shit, and they look stupid. Trying to kiss other teams' ass because they thought they were going to get on TV and it didn't work. And other people jumping forth, going back and forth, telling other groups, trying because they got kicked out of other groups to start trouble with us. It just happens. Some people are so incensed to being with famous. This is what happens. It was first TikTok. Now every fucking thing in TikTok's a conspiracy theory, a jungle fucking snake jumping out of the fucking ocean 700 feet tall, a fucking Godzilla monster jumping out of somebody's house, Bigfoot's on every fucking channel, the giants from Nephilim are flying out of the fucking sky, and they're doing jumping jacks off of a fucking mountain and sit-ups. It's just ridiculous. Everything is on TikTok. It's like fucking, it's ridiculous. Every time I go on TikTok, the wall in Antarctica is 100 times bigger than it was before, and there's secret caves that goes to another world, another dimension where the moon's on the ground. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Yes, there's shit there, and I believe that, but now it's getting ridiculous. It's getting to the point where every fucking thing. Oh, there's this lady. It looks like she fell from heaven, and she had wings on. Yes, you know what they did? They dressed her up like that so she looked like she was a fucking angel. You know how easy it is to do that? You know how technology is and makeup? Come on, dude. Fuck. How dumb can you be? I'm fucking serious because people. This is how crazy it is. People thought Godzilla really attacked Tokyo at one time. They did a fucking thing on the street and people believed it and said Godzilla should pay them back for their pain and suffering. And this is the truth. Because I'm not surprised James Andy's telling me this shit. If you believe fucking Godzilla is real and he destroyed Japan 1,000 times, you know what? Send them the money, bro. Or whoever you are, fucking do it. I'll laugh my fucking ass off. That's some funny ass motherfucking shit that you think Godzilla destroyed Japan. It it's just tells you everything. Now the new thing is all these people are saying they know vampires. I don't know if you've seen that one. The one chick that came out on TikTok, we talked about this, said that she met vampires. And I'm not talking about, just so people know, I have met vampires, but they're not real like they're immortal. There is groups of people who they do have their own little society. They drink blood. They're cool people. That's their thing. But that's the far of it. These people are saying they actually met vampires who were real, like Dracula like not like the book, but the real fucking Dracula, like the movie. And they're immortal. You didn't mean shit. You wouldn't be alive if you knew that. You wouldn't. I don't give a fuck what you're saying. You would not be alive. They would have killed you for opening your big fucking mouth. And just like the one guy we knew, and I talked about this last time, he was about 19, 20. And he said he was a 2,000-year-old vampire, but yet he was living in somebody's bedroom apartment on a couch. So if you think about it, if you were 2,000 years old and that's your fucking life, you might as well walk outside and get fucking fried by the sun. Because if that's what you've done in 2,000 years is live on somebody's couch eating top fucking ramen and bumming cigarettes off of people, it's about done. You wasted 2,000. You're not going to change. If you're that fucking dumb, then you know what? Go out in the sun. Just get it over with and make the world a better place. Because if I'm 2,000-year-old vampire and I'm sleeping on somebody's couch in the garage and eating top ramen and smoking rollies, I'm fucking. You know what? Then I'm done. I might as well go outside, fucking let the sun burn me into to crisp. Because you have to be a dumb motherfucker to tell me you're a vampire, Lestat or something. You're not, dude. If I punch you right in your throat, you're gonna fucking cry. I don't care what you believe in. I don't make fun of people's belief. You believe you're a vampire, that's fine, cool. I seen it. Like the one guy was talking to this yeah, transgender lady, and they were talking. And the one guy said he was a vampire, and the transgender lady was a werewolf. And their families were, and they really said that they were they really believe they were a vampire and a werewolf. There's people who believe they're fucking werewolves, and they dress like it, and they have their own little thing. And I'm like, no, if they're really, I believe there really is werewolves. I think Dogman is a werewolf. I believe there's different versions of him. That's the kind of werewolf I believe. Not that some dude, I seen it on TikTok. There's a video going around. The guy's turning into a fucking werewolf. Get the fuck out of here, dude, with this dumb shit. TikTok's becoming the biggest joke. You know what? Conspiracy theories, there's people who actually believe that. When they thought when the rig was supposed to get down a couple months ago, there's people coming up, the end of the world's coming in 10 days. It didn't. Somebody asked me, what's going to happen the next day, January 9th? And she's all, didn't believe I said that. And I was right. What is it? It's August now? That was 8 months ago. Now I believe there could be wars. I believe that shit. But is the Cthulhu from the fucking Lovecraft gonna come out of the ocean and fucking billions of stories tall and just destroy the world? If he was gonna do that, he would have already done it, dude. If he's as big as the fucking half the planet, there's nothing we're gonna do. He's just gonna destroy us. He'll eat the whole fucking planet. We're gone. If you believe that, then hey, that's cool. I like Lovecraft too. Don't get me wrong. I like a lot. And I believe there is something huge in the ocean. I don't know if it's that big. The Leviathan, whatever you want to believe, if you believe the biblical stuff, and I have my opinions on that. But I don't get into that because I don't push my beliefs on people. You can believe whatever you want. I don't give a fuck. The point is, these people are so full of shit. And it's the same people who did the TikTok, the YouTube videos to try to get famous, the cooking videos to get famous. Every little fucking trend, they always try to get famous. making videos of some idiot jumping off a skateboard or something, and then he fucking breaks his arm and everybody laughs at him. It's the same shit for the last 13 years. And I know some of the cool people who did the YouTube videos and did the videos for horror movies. Then that become every asshole thought they were some critic and they could do that same shit. It's the same bullshit, dude. And then some of them did stuff with their life. Some of them haven't. It, like Eight the Chosen One. He doesn't like being called that. No, it's Brandon. He's gone in a career of making Christian rap, but he was originally a YouTube uh, reviewer that wear a mask called Eight the Chosen One, and he made it, and he ended up getting signed to a big label company and made a few CDs and a lot of shit that went bad in his life, and we'll leave it at that. But he changed. He walked away from it. He did a couple horror movies, like one of the most extreme horror movies ever made, the American Guinea Pig series. Go see that movie. They made like 4 of them. We know Marcus Koch, the guy who did some of the movies, and Stephen Barrow. We're friends with Unearthed Films. What's crazy is the Serbian film. He has some of the props there. The baby and the lady with her head chopped off. That's that. We'll just leave it at that because I can say it. The Serbian film's a crazy ass movie. Go watch it if you ever want to see something extreme. And this is where I'm going to get into this because we were going to talk about this anyway. I want to get off the paranormal bullshit because it gets old. Will be the end of it after this. We were going to talk about this. Horror movies are getting fucking crazy. Terrifier 3 is coming out. The first 2 were crazy movies. Part 2, I was surprised, was even in a theater, and it had some of the most gruesome scenes I've seen in a movie like that in a franchise. I've seen some crazy shit though. So, and now the third one's gonna be fucked, fucked. But these movies are getting worse and worse, and I like it. It doesn't bother me because I think people are getting so attuned to desensitized to horror movies that you need more and more and getting crazier and crazier. Just like the new Exorcist movie, the beginning, it shows the demon coming out of the girl's twat. It coming right out of her fucking snatch, dude. And his hand was out there, and they showed it. It was fucking crazy. It's like I wasn't ready for that, but it was cool. Whatever. Terrifier is like on another level. I know I probably got Andy with that one, but if you see that movie, you see the demon sticks his hand right out of her fucking snatch, and fucking it shows it, and they're getting more and more extreme. Terrifier, like there's supposed to be a scene like he puked on it, and he's done some crazy movies, and if that is true, the second one was fucked. This one's going to be more. Just like the Serbian film, I can say some of the stuff that's happened. It was made in the middle of the end of 2007 or 8, and it's about this movie in Serbia. It's an ex porn star who has a gigantic cock as long as my arm, and I'm not fucking kidding with you. And he's a porn star, but he was famous, so he quits and he gets married to this one chick, and he has a kid. Well, he walks into his kid watching his snag porn. The wife's all panicking. I remember when I watched my first porno, and I was sitting there, the kid's like 7, and I was sitting there like, what the fuck? It was just a crazy movie. And every fucked up thing you can imagine happens in this movie. And there's more, there's other movies, the Human Centipede series, a lot of other movies that I can talk about. The August Underground, they're horrible. But this movie gets crazier and crazier. And there's a scene where he kills somebody by shoving his dick into their eye. That's as far as I'm going to go. And in talking about getting skull fucked, he really does. And that was crazy for that time. Now I've seen worse. But these movies are getting more violent and violent. And I think that we're getting people who are just, they want to see more and more. And I think they're getting more crazier in the shit they're showing. That new one where it was a prelude to Friday the 13th. I make fun of it because I thought it was supposed to be something of violence or something like that. I forget the fucking name. God. it was they're gonna make a part two of it, but he walks around like he's Jason Voorhees, and I don't know if you guys seen Mad TV. The guy does the Honey Dipper Dan. He walks like he's a Honey Dipper Dan, so I make fun of it all the time. It had a couple crazy parts in it, like when he takes the hook and sticks it through her fucking ass and rips her fucking spine out. That was good. And there's another part where he does, it's pretty crazy, but they tried to make it fucking, it was crazy, it's extreme, and I saw it and I was bored half the fucking time. It was just no storyline. It shows you as a killer's point of view. And it was violent, don't get me wrong, it just was fucking boring. It was exaggerated, like always. I was disappointed in this movie. Um, but I have a fucked up mind. I watch a lot of crazy shit, and some of it you shouldn't watch because if stuff bothers you, you shouldn't watch some of the stuff I said, especially when somebody's sticking their dick through your eye. That's a whole different level of craziness. The human centipede is out. You know what that's about? Ass to mouth. A centipede makes a human centipede out of people from their mouth to their ass. We know how that one goes. The second one's really disturbing because the guy portrays it to read the copy of the movie, and he's not a doctor, so he does it his way. So it's more fucking violent and crazy. Yeah, and that movie was pretty fucked up. And he got the perfect guy. He was like 4'9", and he looked like he just was a fucking weirdo, dude. He just was. And then Cummy was just dreaming of it, and it was just another fucked movie, dude. Like, I'm like, who makes this shit? But I know Tom Six. I've actually tried to get him on the show, and I used to have talks with him, and I follow him, and he's a great director. He's made some crazy movies, but I don't know where he got the idea of hooking people up ass to mouth and making the human centipede. That just all together is just fucked, dude. Just imagine, like he fed her. And imagine if you eat something, you're gonna have to eat something that's coming out of somebody's asshole. So I mean, that's just in your staple. Or no, he stitched it in the movie. The first one, it was the doctor. He surgically stitched them. He didn't do that. He fucking stapled their fucking mouth together and taped it with duct tape. That's where, and I don't want to get into too graphic because we are allowed to talk about it a little bit. But that's what happens in these movies, and it's getting worse and worse, guys. It's crazy, but I can't wait to Terrifier 3. They're talking about the shower scene, and at the end, they show on the trailer, he's making blood angels, like snow angels in it. And I'm like, Jesus. And I saw him, he was butchering it up. I don't know what he did, but it looks crazy. I don't know if you guys watched Art the Clown. That shit's hilarious. He's a dick, dude. Like, he does some fucked up shit, like burning people and laughing about it. He had this cereal like they were in hell, and he's sitting there, the kid's eating cereal, and it has like knives and crack in it and fucking needles in it, and he's sitting there smiling. It's just fucked shit, dude. And it's not for the like faint of heart, but Andy doesn't have to really get into that because it's just something I was going to talk about it and finish the show up. That being said, I'm glad you guys joined us. We're getting to almost 2 hours now. Um, I'm going to get out my shout outs, and I'm going to give Andy his chance to give his shout outs. Go ahead, Andy. I'm going to go ahead and give your shout outs, or whoever you want to give a shout out to, brother.
Well, definitely want to give a shout out to our brother James. Hoping that he feels better, man. And I have seen the Terrifiers, both of them. But yeah, I want to give James, hope he feels better, man. Would love you, brother. Tonight, my shout out, man, goes to if you're in the paranormal field, you probably have heard of the Hinsdale House. And Daniel Klaus is the owner of the Hinsdale House. And his daughter, Shaylee, she's 13 years old. She goes tomorrow, and this is Tuesday. I know this show's later in the week sometimes. But as 14th of the 14th of this month, which would be tomorrow, she actually goes in. That could be a very life-changing surgery procedure, I guess you could say. She has a very she has like a cancer, um, but it's one that's not very common. But at 13 years old, to deal with like a bone cancer that I don't know, man. I've heard different stories. Haven't really talked to Dan because he's obviously dealing with that. Um, but whatever you do, love, light, prayers, whatever, throw it out there. This 13, year old little girl is probably one of the strongest people I've ever met in the last few years of my life. And I'm definitely 110% on Team Shaley. And, my shout out is that, everything goes well, that Dan can sleep a little better, that she can, have a bright future. And, my shout out is to how tough she's been and how tough that mom and dad have been, and being real parents, man, and not giving up on their kid, and her not giving up on life.
Thank you, and I'll give a shout out to her also. I want to give a shout out to James Hershey. I hope you feel better. Sucks you caught the Rona. Isn't the first time you'll get over it, brother. You've had other things happen. I wanted to give a shout out to them. I want to give a shout out to my wife for being there for me all the time, and I know she works hard. And we're gonna start. Just so you guys know, we are gonna start a business soon. I'll tell you later more about it. It's gonna be kind of Halloween theme, Wiccan kind of pagan stuff. We're gonna start doing that soon. I was gonna announce that. You guys want to check us out on Staring into the Abyss every Sunday nights at 12 a.m. Eastern, 9 Pacific on Parax Radio, and the best of Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. YouTube, Spotify, check us out for We're Screwed. That's where you can find us. Or we'll send it on Facebook and advertise. We're gonna start doing merchandise soon for We're Screwed. We already have it for Staring, but if you guys want something, just let us know. We can make it. And we don't make much money on it. It's on Teespring, staringintotheabyss.com. But if you guys want to check it out, we don't have War Screw stuff. We're gonna start making that soon. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was I had to do it. I usually don't start it, but I can fucking do it. I've done it before. It's just been a while. So Andy usually takes my position that I am with James is the one that talks. He starts it out, and I just had to take it over, and Andy just took my spot. And Andy's usually chill, and he does what he says, and he says what he does, and that's about it. But he's a good guy, and I'm glad he did the show with me and helped me out. And we were trying to get somebody to come on here, but we didn't have much time to get somebody running on here as a guest. So that would have been more interesting because then we could have had somebody new on here. But if you guys want to be a guest on this show, let us know and we'll get you on. Just remember, have Skype. Don't get offended. If you get offended very easily, you can't be on the show. It's not going to be for you. Trust me on that. I don't care if you're a liberal, a Republican, an independent, you believe in goat. I don't care. I don't care if you're straight, gay, transgender, whatever your belief is, we don't care. Just remember, if you dish it, you're gonna get it back. And if you can't handle it and if stuff offends you, just don't come on. That would probably be the best thing I say. That being said, have a good night, misfit cheer ladies and monster lovers. I love you and have a great fucking night and blessed be from War Screwed. Bye, motherfuckers.